Hello, friends. This is the program Empire of Lies, in which we talk about manipulation and disinformation of the Kremlin media. Alaska without Europe. How Moscow and Washington discuss the future of Europe behind its back. Russian television presents the upcoming summit between Putin and Trump at the military base in Anchorage as a geopolitical victory for the Kremlin. The main idea repeated by the hosts and invited speakers: decisions will be made without Ukraine and without Europe. Europe as an outside observer. The broadcast repeatedly emphasizes that European leaders, Macron, Starmer, Merz, interfere with the negotiations but cannot disrupt them. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is quoted as a sober politician who acknowledges Ukraine's defeat and Europe's inability to resolve the conflict. It is separately emphasized that the choice of Alaska as the meeting place symbolizes the EU's distancing from the center of decision-making, division within the U.S. and Rubio's personal grudge. The program plays out a scenario of confrontation between the hawks in the State Department and the pragmatists in Trump's entourage. The viewer is told that Secretary of State Rubio has allegedly been pushed aside from the negotiation process, while real agreements are being formed in the Trump-Witkoff-Putin channel. European fears and militarization. A separate block is devoted to European rearmament. Referring to the Financial Times, the hosts admit that the EU defense industry is growing at a historic pace and interpret this as preparation for a war with Russia. This justifies Russian military mobilization and demonstrates the inevitability of confrontation. There is a big game on the air. For the Europeans, the upcoming Putin-Trump summit in Anchorage is the most obvious demonstration of geopolitical insignificance, because, in fact, the future of Europe, the future of the European security system, the settlement of the biggest conflict in Europe in recent decades will be decided without representatives of the European states themselves, the member states of the European Union. Well, naturally, they are trying in every way to prevent this, to put a spoke in the wheel, ideally to disrupt the summit, and they continue to give Trump recommendations on how to talk to Putin about what, in their opinion, Trump's red lines should be. The Financial Times is the flesh and blood of the European deep state and even of such an Atlantic community. Let's listen to a recent editorial from this newspaper. The idea that the American leader's Western colleagues should convey to him is that a bad deal will be disastrous for Ukraine, for European American security, and for Trump's own legacy, although this seems unlikely. Trump can still win if he secures an unconditional ceasefire that freezes the conflict. In Alaska, Trump should return to his tough approach and tell Putin that unless he suspends military action, the United States will continue to squeeze the Russian economy and oil exports, and, together with its European allies, will continue to flood Ukraine with weapons. Such a ceasefire would leave important issues such as the future of Russian-occupied territories and Ukrainian forces, and security guarantees from its partners for later, as in some other conflicts, such as the Korean War. Propaganda Subtext 1. Legitimization of the bilateral format. Moscow-Washington negotiations are presented as the only real solution. Second, isolation of Ukraine. Its position is marginalized, and its leadership is discredited. 3. Europe is an extra. The EU is portrayed as weak, fragmented, and dependent on the U.S. 4. Preparation for a freeze of the conflict. Imposing the idea that a ceasefire without returning territories is a victory for all parties except Kyiv. You have been on the Empire of Lies program. Don't be fooled.